There was a time when Megan Fox wasn't just a movie star, she was the movie star. The kind of woman who could walk onto a screen, say almost nothing, and still make an entire generation forget how to breathe. Transformers was a cultural earthquake, and Megan was the face of it. Magazine covers, late-night jokes, every guy's wallpaper, every girl's hair inspiration. She was everywhere. And then, just like that, she wasn't. No explosions, no dramatic goodbye, just a slow, painful fade into straight-to-DVD movies and cameos you probably forgot the second they ended. One day, she was the biggest thing on the planet. The next, Hollywood acted like she had never existed. So what happened? Did she just suddenly forget how to act? Did audiences get bored? Or was there something darker going on behind the scenes? This video is about the real reason Hollywood blacklisted Megan Fox. And trust me, it has almost nothing to do with her talent. But before we get into all that, you need to understand just how untouchable Megan Fox was at her peak. Let's go back to the beginning. Chapter 1. The Untouchable Years. It's 2007. Transformers hits theaters. Nobody expected much. A movie about giant robots punching each other? Sure, whatever. But then something unexpected happened. People walked out of that theater talking about two things: Optimus Prime and the girl leaning over a car engine in a tank top. That girl was Megan Fox, and within one weekend, she became a household name. Here's what she had going for her. First, the looks, obviously. But it wasn't just that. She had this energy, confident, sharp, slightly dangerous. She wasn't playing the sweet girl next door. She was the girl who would steal your car and make you thank her for it. That attitude made her stand out in a sea of bland Hollywood starlets. And the numbers? Insane. Transformers grossed over $700 million worldwide. That's a monster. Suddenly, Megan was the reason teenage boys dragged their parents to the cinema. She was on every magazine cover from GQ to Rolling Stone. She won multiple Teen Choice Awards, MTV Movie Awards, and she even got nominated for 3 Empire Awards. Not bad for someone whose biggest previous credit was a small role in Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. Then came Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen in 2009, another massive box office success. Over $800 million globally. Say what you want about the movie, and people did, because it was a mess, but Megan came out looking like a superstar. She was reportedly making around $1 million for the second film. Not bad for someone who was still in her early 20s. At that moment, she wasn't just A-list, she was the it girl. Directors wanted her, brands wanted her. Every young actress wanted to be her. She had the looks, the fame, and that rare thing Hollywood can't manufacture: genuine cultural buzz. And here's the thing, she seemed untouchable, like nothing could go wrong. But something was already starting to crack. Behind the scenes, before the big scandal even exploded. But every empire starts to wobble before it falls. And Megan Fox's empire? It started wobbling earlier than you think. Chapter 2. The Cracks Before the Earthquake. You'd think someone as hot as Megan Fox in 2009 would have zero problems, right? Wrong. First, let's talk about her movies outside of Transformers. Because here's the thing. Without giant robots carrying her, Megan wasn't exactly setting the box office on fire. In 2008, she starred in How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, a comedy with Simon Pegg. Cute idea, bad execution. The movie made less than $20 million worldwide. That's a flop. A quiet one, but still a flop. Then came Jennifer's Body in 2009. Oh boy. This one hurts to talk about because the movie is actually good. Cult classic now. But back then, it tanked. The budget was around $16 million. It made only $16 million globally. That's almost nothing after marketing costs. People didn't get it. A horror comedy about a possessed cheerleader who eats boys? Too weird for mainstream audiences. And Megan, despite being the face of the poster, couldn't save it. The industry started whispering, maybe she's not a draw without Michael Bay's explosions. But those were just box office problems. The real cracks were about her attitude. Megan Fox had a mouth, and she used it. In interview after interview, she said things that made studio executives wince. She also talked openly about how she felt objectified in Transformers, said she was cast mostly for her body. Again, true. But again, you're not supposed to say it out loud, not when you're still under contract. The media began to turn on her, just a little. Some called her ungrateful, others said she was difficult to work with. Anonymous sources started leaking to tabloids that she had a bad attitude on set, that she was late, that she complained too much. And here's where it gets interesting. Before the big scandal, some directors quietly passed on her because they heard she was trouble. So by the time 2009 rolled around, the cracks were there. But none of that really mattered yet, because she was still Megan Fox, still the queen of Transformers. Then came the moment that changed everything. The moment she crossed the wrong person. The moment Hollywood decided she had to go. And trust me, it wasn't just about what she said. It was about who she said it to. Up next, the real reason she got blacklisted. Chapter 3. The Michael Bay Scandal. It's 2009. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen is out. Huge box office. But behind the scenes, things are ugly. Megan has been doing press tours, and she's tired. Tired of being treated like a piece of furniture. Tired of being told to stand there and look hot while robots steal the show. So she starts talking. And not just talking. She starts comparing Michael Bay to Hitler. In an interview with Wonderland magazine, she said, "He wants to be like Hitler on his sets, and he is, so he's a nightmare to work for." Then, just to make sure everyone heard her, she doubled down in another interview with GQ. She said Bay is like Napoleon, and that he has this fearless, insane, visionary madness that makes him a tyrant. Now, here's the thing. Megan wasn't entirely wrong. Michael Bay has a reputation for being a screaming, controlling perfectionist. Actors have complained about him for years, but nobody ever compared him to a genocidal dictator in a public interview. That was a line you just didn't cross. So how did Hollywood react? First, Bay himself fired back. He didn't scream publicly. He did something smarter. He stayed quiet for a bit. Then, suddenly, it was announced that Megan Fox would not be returning for Transformers: Dark of the Moon. The official reason? Mutual decision and creative differences. Yeah, right. Everyone knew the truth. She was fired. But it wasn't just Bay. The entire industry took notes. Steven Spielberg, who was an executive producer on the Transformers films, reportedly called Bay directly and said, "You have to fire her." Spielberg isn't someone you ignore. And just like that, Megan Fox went from the face of a billion-dollar franchise to radioactive waste in under a week. But wait, it gets worse. Because Hollywood doesn't just fire you, they humiliate you on the way out. The tabloids went crazy. Suddenly, every anonymous source who ever worked with Megan crawled out of the woodwork. She was difficult. She was unprofessional. She had an ego problem. One crew member allegedly said she refused to get dirty on set. Another said she showed up late constantly. True or not, doesn't matter. The narrative was set. Megan Fox was toxic. And here's the real killer. No other major director wanted to touch her. Think about it. After the Transformers firing, what big movies did she get? Nothing. 0 blockbusters. 0 studios willing to bet on her. Megan tried to apologize. She said she was young and immature. She said she regretted the Hitler comment. But it didn't matter. The damage was already done. Hollywood had made its decision. But here's the saddest part. She wasn't wrong. She was objectified. She was treated like a prop. And when she spoke up about it, they destroyed her. Not because she lied, because she told the truth at the wrong time to the wrong person. That's the real scandal. Not what she said, what they did to her for saying it. And in the next chapter, we're going to prove she fell hard, because the aftermath is brutal. Chapter 4. The Aftermath. Let's start with the immediate aftermath. 2010. She had one movie coming out that wasn't Transformers. Jonah Hex. Big studio movie, DC Comics adaptation, co-starring Josh Brolin. Budget? Around $47 million. That's not tiny. That's a real shot at a comeback. What happened? Jonah Hex made $10.9 million worldwide. That's one of the worst box office performances of the entire decade. The movie lost so much money that Warner Brothers basically buried it and pretended it never existed. And guess who got blamed? Megan. Then came Passion Play with Mickey Rourke, another flop. Made less than $4,000 in its opening weekend, straight to DVD in most countries. Then Friends with Kids in 2011. Okay, this one did a little better, $14 million worldwide. But it was an ensemble comedy. She played a supporting role, a favor from a friend. Not the kind of movie a former Transformers star should be taking. And here's where it gets sad. Between 2012 and 2019, Megan Fox's film career looked like a yard sale of rejected projects. The Dictator? Cameo as herself. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Okay, this was a reboot. Big studio, big effects. But here's the thing. That movie was produced by Michael Bay. Yeah, the same guy who fired her. She had to go back to him, crawl back, because no one else would hire her. And even then, the movies were critically destroyed. The second one made less than the first, and she wasn't the star. Then came the straight-to-VOD hell, Zeroville, a 2019 movie so bad it has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Rogue, a 2020 action movie that went straight to digital. Midnight in the Switchgrass, a 2021 thriller with Bruce Willis that you've never heard of because no one watched it. Compare that to her peers from the late 2000s. Shia LaBeouf had problems too, but he kept getting chances. Megan only got small roles in indie films that no one saw. Voice work in video games, a guest spot on New Girl that people loved, but that was TV, not movies. And TV is where fallen movie stars go to recover. Let me give you a number that hurts. In 2009, the year she was fired, Megan Fox was the fourth most searched name on Google. By 2014, she wasn't even in the top 1,000. Hollywood made sure she was invisible. She admitted in interviews that she went years without a single studio calling. She said, "I was blacklisted. I was told I was difficult, and I believed it for a long time." That's the saddest part. She started believing her own destruction. Now she still acts. Small stuff. A horror movie here, a cameo there. She's in the Expendables sequel. But she's not a star. Not anymore. But here's the question everyone wants answered. Is there any way back? Can Megan Fox ever be the star she was in 2007? Let's find out in the next chapter. Chapter 5. Why She Can Never Come Back. Can Megan Fox ever be the star she was back in 2007? No, she cannot. Because Hollywood has a memory longer than an elephant with a grudge. Once you're labeled difficult, the door gets welded shut. Look at the facts. She's in her late 30s now. Hollywood is cruel to women over 35. The industry that once put her on every magazine cover now sees her as a risk. Too much baggage. Too many past problems. And let's be honest, she never had the dramatic acting awards or the critical darling reputation that could save someone like, say, Jennifer Lawrence from a bad patch. Megan was famous for saying crazy things in interviews. That's not a career foundation. That's a sandcastle. So what does the rest of her career look like? More of the same. Small roles in direct-to-streaming action movies. Maybe a reality show cameo. A guest spot on a TV drama. She'll be a nostalgia act. Someone you see on a Remember the 2000s listicle. And here's the thing. Megan Fox is not the first star this has happened to. And she won't be the last. Remember Katherine Heigl? She was the queen of romantic comedies. Knocked Up, 27 Dresses, Grey's Anatomy. Then she called her own movie sexist and her TV show exhausting. Boom, blacklisted. Suddenly, she was difficult. Her career never recovered. Remember Terrence Howard? Hustle and Flow, Iron Man. Then he started talking crazy, suing everyone and getting into legal trouble. Marvel recast him. Hollywood backed away. He's still working, but not at that level. And it happens to men too, but let's be real. Women get punished harder and faster for the exact same behavior. A man speaks his mind, he's passionate. A woman does it, she's difficult. That's the game. And Megan Fox lost. But here's the part that should scare you. This isn't some old Hollywood story from the 1950s. This happened in 2010. This is still happening. Right now, somewhere in Los Angeles, a young actress is saying the wrong thing to the wrong person. And 5 years from now, you'll be watching a YouTube video asking, what happened to her career? The system doesn't change, it just finds new victims. If you made it this far, you clearly love digging into the dark side of fame. And guess what? That's exactly what Cinema Fallout is all about. We break down the rises, the falls, and the scandals they didn't want you to see. So hit that subscribe button. Watch our video on The Sudden Fall of Gal Gadot nobody wants to talk about if you haven't already. And stick around, because we've got more stories of stars who burned too bright, spoke too loud, and paid the price.